Hello there, my zealous. This is Joshua coming at you today. What's up? So I have this friend of mine, Aren, and he asks a really good question. He's like, "What did Yeshua mean when he said, 'Peter, on Peter I will build upon my church'?" So upon this rock, this Petros. So Peter is actually the term Petros, and Petros means pebble or stone. And Jesus Christ is supposed to be the chief cornerstone. And now Peter was the best disciple that Jesus Christ had. And ironically, even though he was the best disciple that Jesus Christ had, he had some faults. He had some failings. He had some issues. Now, later on, you find out that Jesus Christ tells the brother Zebedee that there will be two anointed, the left and the right hand anointed, and they will be chosen by God. And when John the Baptist, or not John the Baptist, when John, the guy that wrote the Gospel, John, he was one of the Zebedee brothers, and he said that the left hand or the right hand anointed, which is the Comforter, will be ordained by Christ, and the Spirit of Truth, which is the left hand or the left hand anointed, will be ordained by God. Now, I know that what John wrote is not considered canon, but I would think that in this situation he would have an inside track onto what's going on because he was the one that initially asked for the position. He was like, please, can I have that position? And he's like, it's not for me to choose. And he's like, dang. So he said, and he went into more detail about how it's supposed to happen. Well, we know that Paul was ordained by Christ on the road to Damascus and therefore fulfilling what John had said was going to happen and made it come to pass. So he is the right hand anointed or the Comforter. And then later on, he said that the Spirit of Truth will also be chosen, but by God, not by Jesus Christ, or not be ordained by Jesus Christ, but by God. So what does it mean to build upon this house? So build upon this Petros, this rock, will I build my church upon? Peter was the most dedicated of the disciples. And when the church transformed from the church that was started, it moved into the movement towards Gentiles. Now we have the biggest two people in this is that Peter, his whole purpose. Now he was just a fisherman, a Jewish fisherman. He barely knew the scripture. I mean, he knew the scriptures because every Jew did, but his knowledge of the scriptures compared to like a Pharisee or a Sadducee or some sort of scribe or lawyer, his knowledge is not the same, okay? But his understanding far exceeded his compatriots, so because he was with Jesus Christ. So God had sent Peter to evangelize to the Jews, and which is interesting because then we have Paul, and Paul is he's a Pharisee of Pharisees. He's a part of the there's a certain group. Sanhedrin. He's a part of Sanhedrin, which is the upper echelon of Judaism. He's like, it's basically the baddest sect of Judaism. He's like an uber Jew. Okay, so he knows his Bible. He knows his Bible better than anybody. But what's ironic is that this guy, the most common of Jews, is sent to evangelize to the Jews, and then the most knowledgeable and of the Jews or the Christians is sent to the Gentiles. So the most unlearned Jew is sent to the Jews, and the most highest learned is sent to the Gentiles. So it's like that which is low is meant to humble, and the which is high is sent to bring down. It's kind of a nice dichotomy. So what Jesus Christ said, upon this Petros, this stone, this Peter, that I will build my church upon. Peter was the foundation for the Jewish faith, or the Jewish Christianity. Paul was the foundation for Gentile Christianity. And so that's how we have these are the two pillars of Christianity. However, as time went on, the Jews stopped worshiping Jesus Christ, and the Gentiles took up, or not worshiping. The Jews stopped being a follower of Jesus Christ. There we go. Because you can still use the word worship, but it's not worship like I'm praying to Jesus. Worship means I respect you because you're an authority, that kind of worship. Sorry. There's a biblical, that's a whole other video about the differences between worships. But anyway, but they respected Jesus. so anyway, so we have this division, and the Jews fell away from the true faith, and the Gentiles embraced the new faith. And this is, so upon this church, upon this Petros, upon this rock, I will build my church. The church was built, and then it was carried forward by Paul. And Peter was the one that really set that foundation, but then Paul built upon it and became the right hand anointed. So, because without Peter, see, this is the thing you have to understand. Without Peter, Paul would have no understanding of who Christ was, because everything was hearsay, and nobody really understood the doctrine that Christ taught better than Peter. But in Peter's own writings, he says that Paul has a better understanding than myself. Peter knew that Paul was ordained to be the comforter, or the left hand, or the right hand anointed. Peter knew it, and he says submitted to Paul. And because of that, he was like, listen, whatever Paul says is true, and I'm here to support him. Peter was the one that brought him into this church. He's the one that expounded upon the understanding. And then Paul then grew it and expounded upon it even further. So it's like, upon this rock, this Petros, Peter is one that was the link between Paul and Jesus Christ. And then when Paul came in, then Paul took over the church. So yes, upon Peter, the church was founded, but then Paul took it from there. So I hope this answers your question, Aren. It was a great question. I'm glad you asked it. And you know I love God because I love virtue, justice, and salvation. Click the dingy thingy, share, subscribe, leave a comment, like the video if you liked it, because I want you to lightly touch the like button. Because I don't know, there's a lot of people that like to smash it, and I'm like, you just barely touch it. It'll click. You don't need to hurt it. You just push it, just lightly. It'll be fine. Just click. It's good. You don't need to bam. That's not good. Anyway, so you have a great day. Yeah, good to see you. Bye.